And welcome back. Picking up where we left off last time in Factorio. Well, say last time. Said at the end of the last one we were going to wait until enough ammo had piled up here on the bomb fizzle. No, that reminds me, I should go ahead and turn mining productivity back on. And I think we are now about reaching that point. In the meantime, I've done some minor stuff over here on Fulgora. One of which is I finally decided that probably the best way to make sure that this doesn't break was to swap over to an active provider requester setup for everything, because most of the stuff is already running on requesters. It's just putting in an active provider and then making a bunch of buffers, in theory, allows the whole thing not to back up as badly. And then the only thing that really needs to be done to fix it is make more buffers. Set more buffers up. Stuff the bots in theory can probably do from a distance for me. So yeah, the bulb fizzle at this point has probably picked up enough ammo. We've gone ahead and got that extra 1,000 purple, extra 1,000 utility. In the meantime, I also did a little bit more designing on our ship here, which is mainly starting to think about how we're going to crush stuff to make the fuel to run the thruster. But yeah, at this point, I think it is time to tell the bulb fizzle to come out to Fulgora to pick us up. And so we're going to bring mining drills over. We're going to pick ourselves up. Probably going to fly over to Gleba on the way back to Novice to drop off the science. We're about 1,000 utility science short of having all we want on Gleba, so we may actually be going back to Gleba. And we'll see how quickly we can do it in this part. If we get to Gleba, we can get the advanced asteroid reprocessing gun. That may help with very rapidly swapping over to foundries. Which will help with a lot with all the lane balancing on Novice. So yeah. So we're potentially just gonna run everything off of the artisanal yellow science and delay going up to full half belt yellow science just a little bit longer, just because much of the stuff's going to be so much better for using foundries, and because everything that requires wires is better with foundries. Everything that requires all the metal balancing is going to be easier with foundries. Because we need wires in the processing units and stuff like that, and that's going to be better with foundries, and combine that with we're wanting to pick up. I suppose we can actually tell the bomb fizzle that it's allowed to start picking up, right? So this is our this pickup. This is the Vulcanist pickup. And then we'll say this is the pickup from Fulgora. Yeah, Fulgora, we're going to be picking up the dramatic plants. And if we got the space, we'll probably pick up the electromagnetic science as well. We're not quite there on the 2,000. On the other hand, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if it's not far off. 162 away. Which is mostly tied up in the polonium processing. I suppose we can actually pick up have some iron shipped up from the planet as well here to try to keep the guns loaded. But I might want that to be a bigger stockpile. And we're backed up on something again. Haha, we don't have enough buffer chests, do we? The buffer chests are full. Oh no, we're just saturated on the bots running. That's a different problem. Okay. Right, well, that's temporarily fixed it. And I think we're gonna want some iron over here, 1,000 iron. We're gonna do what I'm thinking of doing. Don't know if that works. It's almost here, so we'll find out in a moment. So arriving here, we're coming over here mainly to drop off some big mining drills and be ready to accept us. There goes the first 5. I think we've only got a little over 20 anyway. No, I could have gone up to 25. Yeah, we'll just ship the 20. Call it good. Oh, I should create the inventory again. May want to ship more logistics because I'm slightly over reliant on this island, this place for logistics bots. We might want to ship more logistics bots in from Novice. Second wave launch going in pretty quick time. There it goes. Yeah, this is basically my flying spaceport factory plan, which may or may not work. It's fairly expensive. Hoping that with enough solar panels we're able to power enough lasers to protect it sitting idle over a location without having to use actual bullets. Because as you can see, sitting over a location is not that threatening. Any place that isn't Novice has medium asteroids you have to deal with, right? They're not immune to lasers, as you can see. They have 90% resistance to lasers, so the lasers basically have to have like 10 times the laser firepower to bring them down. But they're only 400 hit points, so they're not too scary. And yeah, the density once you're stationary someplace is not that bad. You might have a little bit of difficulty flying, which will be a different problem. I suspect it will be slower than the Fizzle. We're running more fuel stuff on it, but that's because this thing being 8 times heavier will just be slower, because even though it's got basically 50% more thrust, it has 8 times more weight. $600. We need a full 1,000 to do this stuff. We want to do Gleba. Waiting launch capacity here, which in Fulgora I think is just waiting on the. Do we not have you set up to request? No, you're requesting rocket fuel. Is the rocket fuel delivery just that's not that slow? Now let's up the request to 60 then. It's not going to make it faster, but should mean that when we're not actively requesting it, should get there faster. More should be stockpiled for the emergent situation. We'll do a manual over here because this is going to be faster than waiting for the bots, the oversaturated bots. We do have productivity modules too. So what? Every 4 and a bit cycles, it will do an extra cycle for building the robot parts or the rocket parts. Three more rockets worth of lasers. We're bringing the accumulators up now. Don't think we don't have the stuff to build crushers, and the thrusters already set up on Novice. Not that those would be impossible to do. Probably set those up. Set up some artisanal versions of them. Where do I want to set them up? Probably close by. Oh, so that's where our grabber is. We do have asteroid collectors. We don't have any crushers set up. And really don't have any engines set up either, but those are pretty easy to set up. Okay. So they both need engines, they both need steel. One needs blue, one needs low density. I'm pretty sure we got both of those in the network. Well, organism them up here and that'll work. Yeah. Got blue in the network, so that'll work. Quester. Massive provider. Oh, actually, you probably want 2 different passive providers. So we can limit them by the passive providers. Crushers and engines. No, I probably want those the other way. I probably want you to be the crusher. You to be the engine. The engine is going to be getting blue. So we'd say that you need to grab blue circuits and steel and engines. And then that should just work. Because I presume we have steel buffered somewhere. The presumption might be incorrect. In fact, actually, it makes sense to probably buffer some steel over here. And yes, apparently we do have steel in the system because we want steel from somewhere. But yeah, making a steel stockpile closer to the rocket silo isn't a bad idea. Stack size is 10, launch capacity is 10, stack size is 10, rocket capacity is half a stack, so yeah, that'll be fine. That's all we need for launching capacity. First 15 are up here. Looks like the 20th one is about to go up. Then we'll move on to the space science. Could technically up it to 25 pretty easily. We might contemplate that. We'll see where we are if the space science is up. Or if we're trying to stall enough time for the second set of space science to go, or not space science, Fulgora science to go up. Nice productivity. And of course, it's something we need to launch ourselves. The concrete little things is backed up. Which is presumably only backed up because we are limited by the bots moving things around. Could manually move it. And I might manually move it just to make it move a bit faster. Yeah, we should be able to get the bits for that. Stack of gears. In fact, one of those. Wait, so we'll take one of those. Some greens. Shouldn't be too hard to do. Oh, I suppose I can just use the upgrade planner and say, can you upgrade that? They might not be able to upgrade that. Don't know if we want any blue inserters in this network. And the fact that no one's rushing over to upgrade it is making me think that it isn't upgradable. But... And by isn't upgradable as in that we don't have the stuff to upgrade. Yeah, there it goes. That's the warning saying that we don't. Got the first load of that going up. I manually accelerated a bit by throwing some over myself. That's a bit of transport, quite a bit of transport. Go on, there we go. Sort of tweaked it a bit to make it work, but it's fine. Now it has 39 to receive instead of the full 100. plenty of build on the planet. Oh, we got the wrong planet. Alright, there you go. Now I can request that. 952 available on the planet. So yeah, decent possibility we'll be able to get that shipped as well. Waiting for the bots to deliver the last couple. And here it comes. There goes the ship off with the 1,000 Fulgora science. And yeah, the local button appears to be capable of keeping the rockets going at the rate that the launch pad can make them. Which is good to see. Yeah, if we're going to make the contents of the rockets at that speed. The Halonium ore being the greatest bottleneck known to my butt. Almost there. 963. What are you actually? Oh, you're backed up on that mostly by the looks of it. Looks like everything else is actually working, providing enough for that solution to run. In fact, yeah, actually, we're actually getting enough aluminum through. So it's not aluminum shortage. It's a processing of the aluminum shortage, which is probably the best place to be. More of that to go. Got 5 more of those. We can ship 5 of those up. And then we're just waiting on launch capacity. Oh, and apparently waiting on getting the rocket fuel over there. Is it a shipping of rocket fuel issue, or is it a production of rocket fuel issue? That's the question I'm thinking. Appears to be a production, which is fair. Just need to resist the greed. And the greed would be to send another wave of electromagnetic plants up. Instead, I think we're going to send up the extra 1,000 Fulgora science, and then us, and then we're going to hover over the Novice. Potentially to do some Fulgora science in Novice. We don't want the repeatables. Could grab Tesla weapons. I think all the Tesla weapons are electric based. Yeah. I'm not sure how the Glibban enemies respond to being electrocuted. Our radar doesn't currently see any, so I can't check. But I think this has a radar signal, so that's where that bit's coming from. And then we've got a radar dish over here. I think we have a radar dish over here somewhere. Seems like we got something squared out over... Oh, there's the radar dish. Yeah, we got a couple of radar dishes. Obviously not providing enough power, so things aren't running the way they're supposed to, but things are running, which is functional. Yeah, the space has been managing to unstick itself every once in a while, so while things aren't quite going according to plan over there, it's at least working. 9 more cycles, which is mostly weight of polonium. Liquid. Seven more cycles. 4 more cycles. Probably with the productivity, it'll actually be like 3. Because of productivity, it's now 1. There we go, we got enough for the transport ship, the shipping. Okay, now we're just waiting for that launch. Should be good to go. No, we're not gonna wait for the bullets to go up. We're just gonna send this up and then we're gonna follow it up. So we are gonna go up to thing and say metal, current request, nothing. Because I don't want you to actually take any. So now we're just waiting for the last rocket to be constructed to take us up. Mainly waiting on laser turrets here, okay. This is almost certainly not the best way to do this, but it's a way that is going, at least temporarily, work. Okay, we need more belts, we need the splitter. At that point, we'll have a functioning engine. Whether or not it's safe with the balance of laser turrets to solar panels to fly anywhere is an entirely different question. Waiting on our rocket launch. Which appears to be mostly waiting on rocket fuel. I don't think we got any speed modules on the planet. Wouldn't necessarily be the hardest thing to build, I suppose. Yeah, it's basically moving the rocket fuel as quickly as it gets made. Like, we can have other critiques about what's going on, but the rocket fuel issue is not one of them. And you're waiting on concrete. You're waiting on steel, because you're not requesting steel. Whoops-a-daisy. Yeah, how did I plan on you getting steel? I didn't put request for steel on the list. Apparently it was just lasting on the dregs of steel I gave it earlier. Enough to make that work. Alright, so that should hopefully get the electromagnetic plants going a little bit faster. %to take off. And yeah, the ammo is getting a little low, so we are going to fly over to Navas instead of Gleba. Probably sit there for a while. So let's crank that up to the 2,000 we need. As we're probably getting pretty close. I scroll across the map to where it gets stored for lunch, which is here. Yeah, getting pretty close. Oh yes, 170% productivity. So every time we make a thing, we've actually made it 1.5 plus times over again. And it will be higher. Which is one of the reasons we probably want to swap over to foundries. It's just being able to turn everything into liquid and then pipe the liquid into whichever production chain is required is probably the best way to do it. It's productivity stacking. Oh, and that probably would be one way to improve the... Actually, can we make bullets in foundries? If we can make bullets in foundries, we're probably already doing it on Vulcanos, right? No, it's some machines are bullets. Wait, you can make the plates and stuff, okay. 62% to launch. Maybe you should be a little bit more worried about the depletion of the scrap over here, but even that's not really that worrying. Oh, I suppose we did receive our big drills. I can swap over to big drills. I don't think the scrap lasts longer. And give me something to do while we're waiting for our launch capacity to be ready for us. One nice thing about the big drills is it's got a resource rating of 50% instead of 100%. So I think it's every other time it mines something, it doesn't actually mine anything. But yeah, you get the product of mining, so... Free stuff is free stuff. Yep, so 8.4k in there. I think the miners will be able to get everything in that patch. Basically, that just doubled it, so that's nice. Nice when that happens. I think there is a high-speed one, so just come do that. And we can come over to this field. yoinking a couple of power poles so we can reduce the grid a little bit. Okay, next set of mining big mine drills needs to be about that position. I think that pretty much covers the whole field. Might not be maximizing the throughput, but I don't think we need to maximize the throughput right now. Especially in a field that's just short of 1 million scrap, right? So that just doubled it to 2 million, pretty much. So yeah, making the scrap go farther. Let's see if it's ready for us to leave the planet. It is. It's now time. I'm carrying something I'm not supposed to carry. Oh, yeah. Didn't get rid of all the gears. Oops. Gotta get rid of those gears. You got space. Take my gears. Now we can leave the planet. The Bob Fizzle. There's our landing. So, we got what we want from Fulgora. Let's go to Novice. We'll throw the electromagnetic science down to the planet. Probably throw the electromagnetic plants down as well. Debating whether or not we want to land. That's a different question. We might not land. We might fly it instead over to Gleba. But I think when we get there, based on the time, it's probably where we should go ahead and end the part and end the stream. If you've been watching on YouTube, this has basically been a 4-part recording session. So this part and the last previous 3. And if you kind of mathed it up, you'd go like, oh, we've only been recording for about 4 hours. Yeah, the big time we were waiting for our transport ship here to rearm, that almost took an hour. So I've actually been recording for almost 5 hours. So when we get back to Novice, I think that's going to be where we're going to have to go and end and stream. It has been productive, so we're sitting at the point where I think if we go set up science on Gleba, we can probably, if we're careful about it, force through the asteroid reprocessing, which would put us in a good place to actually just redesign and redevelop our process on Novice for significantly more efficient applications. And that would also probably be a good place to plan for and send up a platform to be over Gleba or Fulgora and that sort of stuff. I think Vulcanus doesn't really need a platform, but the rest of them, I think, there's definitely things we could balance a little bit better if we had a platform. So Gleba, it's basically don't really want to deal with the metal mining that you're going to do Gleba-wise. So we do that on platform and drop that from platform. That makes sense. Fulgura, you can do a lot of different balancing stuff dropping from platform. And then Novice, we got to drop the calcite from platform, right? So space science from platform and calcite from platform. We might pretty much ignore everything else, though maybe it's still a little bit tempting to drop the iron and copper ores as well, if we're dropping calcite. And I think there is a recipe for turning the carbon back into coal, so there's definitely things we can do. But yeah, I think this is when we get back to Novice. This is where we're going to go ahead and end the part. It would be right about the part where we're going to take a break anyway to rearm the ship before we go over to Gleba, which is probably a reason to contemplate maybe not immediately heading and not immediately. Well, I suppose we could either drop to the planet, or I can probably do a lot of designing from space to save the rocket launch. But that'll really be decided early next episode. So, arrival in... Oh, I'm not going to do the mental math in my head. We're going about 7 kilometers a second. You could contemplate what 3,000 divided by 70 is, but we got about 3,000 kilometers to go. Well, yeah. 3,000 kilometers, which I know if you go into the Greek, the kilo means 1,000, so it's like 3,000 thousandths of a meter, but we'll be there soon. Yeah, we're running a little uncomfortably low on ammo, so the ship's going to have to spend a little bit of time in port rearming. And I think we should probably have enough utility science that, yeah, we can get everything we need for the level launched while we're rearming. Assuming the things proceeded as planned. Yeah, we got 1,000. 1,000 a bit. In fact, let's actually set the limit to there. Let's just start backing up a bit. Interesting well, because we're running money, actually, never mind. I was about to say, interesting the purple's not backed up. The answer is because you're using it. Why would you think it would be backed up if you're using it? The answer is it wouldn't be being used. Yeah. Might be able to speed the science up again if... because during the break I went ahead and turned off the requester chest effect, so we get ready for shipping quicker, but we can turn this one back on, and this one back on. So what they'll do is they'll have the bots come over here, and any of the higher quality stuff that's made it through, pick it up, bring it back to the start. So situations where we've got, like, nothing being researched here, that could be a uncommon or a rare instead of a normal. And those do last longer, so that would be a net science rate increase. Oh, and we are here, we are at Novice. So yeah, the ship's got to do some rearming. Most of the frontal cannons are empty. Frontal gun turrets are empty. It's got to rearm. And that isn't necessarily going to take forever, but it's going to be long enough that it's not going to be in this part. So if you're watching on YouTube, I can't guarantee that they'll be put up tomorrow, but they'll probably be a part of tomorrow. We're recorded far enough ahead that recording our four parts is still probably enough that we'll get around to recording another part before it comes around till tomorrow. I think we might only be 7 parts ahead prior to this recording session. So at this point, it might only be 6 parts ahead. But that should be enough time for a 5-day for the 5-day cycle of running. So if you're watching on YouTube, that means there probably will be a part tomorrow. If you're watching on Twitch, hope you've been enjoying. The next stream of Factorio specifically will be in 5 days. We have other games that we're streaming. Tomorrow should be Long Dark again. Followed what? Turn Victor is we finished up, so it'll be a different game. Spoilers if the Terran Victor ending hasn't gone up. If you're watching on YouTube, I think we're going to switch over to a Legionary's Life for at least the day. Then after that will be Shadow Empire, and then we'll be back to EU4 before coming back on to Factorio. So with that, I wish you all the best of luck and a good time. Catch you all in the next part. And I'll say bye for now as soon as we go ahead and make the save. Stream save. Okay, and bye for now.